You know that feeling when someone walks into a room and everyone just stops? That magnetic presence that commands attention without saying a word. That power doesn't come from their title, their wealth, or their connections. It comes from something far more profound. Their ability to speak with authentic authority that demands respect. I've spent decades studying what makes people listen, what makes them lean in, what makes them remember your words long after you've finished speaking. And I'm here to tell you, it's not about the words you choose. It's about who you are being when you speak those words. The truth that changed my life forever came to me during a moment of deep personal crisis. I was standing in front of a group of executives, delivering what I thought was a perfectly crafted presentation. All the right words, all the right data, all the right PowerPoint slides. Yet I could see it in their eyes, that glazed over look of polite disinterest. They weren't hearing me. Not really. That's when it hit me like a bolt of lightning. I wasn't really there. Oh, my body was present, my mouth was moving, but my spirit, my authentic self, was hiding behind a wall of professional jargon and rehearsed phrases. I was speaking from my head, not my heart. And people can always tell the difference. Respect isn't given to those who demand it. It's earned by those who speak their truth with such unwavering conviction that others can't help but listen. It's earned by those who have the courage to be vulnerable, to be real, to be fully present in every conversation. Think about the last time you truly felt heard, not just listened to, but deeply, profoundly heard. What made that moment different? I'll tell you what it was. Connection. Raw, authentic, heart-to-heart connection. The kind of speaking that earns respect isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up fully in every conversation, whether you're talking to one person or 1,000. It's about understanding that your words carry energy. And that energy is what people respond to far more than your carefully chosen vocabulary. Let me share something powerful with you. Every single day, we have approximately 50,000 thoughts racing through our minds. Yet how many of those thoughts do we actually voice? And of the ones we do voice, how many come from a place of truth rather than fear? How many come from our authentic selves rather than our conditioned responses? The first key to speaking in a way that commands respect is understanding this fundamental truth. Your voice is not just a tool for communication. It's an instrument of transformation. When you speak from a place of absolute truth, when you align your words with your deepest values, people don't just hear you, they feel you. I remember working with a young leader who had all the technical skills, all the knowledge, all the credentials. Yet when she spoke, her team's eyes would drift to their phones, their attention wandering. She came to me frustrated, angry, feeling powerless. I've tried everything, she said. I've taken public speaking courses, I've memorized power poses, I've studied all the techniques, nothing works. When was the last time you spoke without trying to impress anyone? The look on her face told me everything. She had been so focused on appearing competent, on proving her worth, that she'd forgotten the most important element of powerful communication, authenticity. The transformation began when she started speaking from her heart instead of her resume. When she stopped trying to sound important and started being real. The change was remarkable. Within weeks, her team was not just listening. They were engaged, inspired, eager to contribute. This brings us to the second crucial understanding. Respect commanding speech isn't about raising your voice. It's about raising your consciousness. It's about speaking from a place of such deep self-awareness that your words carry the weight of lived. Every word you speak is like a pebble dropped into a pond. The ripples of your communication extend far beyond the immediate conversation. They touch lives in ways you may never know. That's why it's crucial to speak not just with clarity, but with consciousness. Think about the people in your life who command your respect when they speak. What is it about them that captures your attention? Is it their volume, their vocabulary, their credentials? Or is it something deeper, their presence, their authenticity, their unwavering connection to the power to speak in a way that commands respect isn't something you're born with. It's something you cultivate through conscious choice and consistent practice. It begins with a decision to stop hiding behind the mask of who you think you should be and start speaking from who you truly are. Here's a profound truth that changed my entire approach to communicating. The most powerful words are those that come from a place of service rather than ego. When you speak with the genuine intention to add value, to contribute, to elevate the conversation, people feel it. They respond to it. They respect it. But this kind of speaking requires courage. The courage to be vulnerable. The courage to admit what you don't know. The courage to let go of the need to impress and embrace the opportunity to impact. Because here's the paradox. The more you try to impress, the less impressive you become. The more you try to sound important, the less impact you have. I've seen this transformation countless times. People who thought they needed to speak louder to be heard, discovering that when they spoke with quiet authenticity, the world leaned in to listen. People who believed they needed more credentials to be respected, finding that when they spoke from their lived experience, their words carried more weight than any degree could provide. Let me share with you the third fundamental truth about speaking with respect commanding power. Your energy precedes your words. Long before you open your mouth to speak, people are reading your energy, sensing your intention, feeling your presence. This isn't some mystical concept. It's a scientifically proven reality of human communication. Have you ever noticed how some people can say good morning and light up an entire room, while others can deliver the same words and barely create a ripple? What's the difference? It's not in the words, it's in the energy behind those words. It's in the level of consciousness from which those words emerge. This brings us to a critical understanding about respect commanding speech. It's not about what you say, it's about the state of being from which you say it. When you speak from a place of inner peace, when you speak from a place of authentic power, your words carry authority. When you speak from a place of genuine caring, your words touch hearts. They're trying to sound confident instead of being confident. They're trying to appear authoritative instead of embodying authority. They're trying to seem caring instead of actually caring. And people can always tell the difference. Always. The transformation begins when you realize that powerful speaking isn't about adding something to yourself. It's about removing the barriers to your authentic expression. It's about stripping away the layers of social conditioning that tell you to speak in a certain way to be respected. Let me share a profound truth that changed everything for me. The voice that commands the most respect is the one that speaks from a place of absolute self-acceptance. When you truly accept yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your journey, your truth, you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. And that's when your words begin to carry real power. Think about this. Every time you speak, you're either coming from love or coming from fear. You're either speaking to contribute or speaking to protect. You're either expressing your truth or managing your... And people can feel the difference in their bones. I've worked with countless individuals who thought they needed to speak with more authority, more confidence, more power. But what they really needed was to speak with more authenticity, more presence, more truth. The authority, confidence, and power they saw it came naturally once they aligned their speech with their authentic selves. Respect commanding speech isn't about dominating the conversation, it's about elevating it. It's about creating a space where truth can be spoken and heard. It's about using your voice not to prove your importance, but to serve the highest good of all involved. Every conversation is an opportunity for transformation. Every word you speak has the potential to heal or harm, to elevate or diminish, to connect or separate. When you truly understand this, you begin to speak with a level of consciousness that naturally commands respect. But this kind of conscious speaking requires something from you. It requires your full presence. Not just your physical presence, but your emotional presence, your spiritual presence, your authentic presence. It requires you to be fully available to the moment, to the person or people you're speaking with, to the truth that wants to emerge through you. Think about the most impactful conversations in your life, the ones that changed you, that moved you, that stayed with you. What made them so powerful? It wasn't just the words spoken, it was the presence behind those words. It was the authenticity of the connection. It was the truth that was being transmitted beneath. There's a powerful practice that can transform your speaking immediately. Before you speak, ask yourself this simple question: am I speaking to impress or to impact? The answer to that question will determine the energy behind your words and therefore their power to command respect. When you speak to impress, you're coming from ego. When you speak to impact, you're coming from service. When you speak to impress, you're focused on yourself. When you speak to impact, you're focused on contribution. When you speak to impress, you create resistance. When you speak to impact, this understanding leads us to another crucial truth about respect commanding speech. The most powerful speaking comes from listening, not just hearing the words others say, but deeply listening to what's beneath those words. Listening to the unspoken needs, the unexpressed feelings, the underlying truths. When you develop this level of listening, your speaking naturally becomes more responsive, more relevant, more respectful. You begin to speak not just from your own truth, but in response to the truth of the moment. Your words become not just expressions of your thoughts, but bridges of understanding. The more you listen, the more powerful your speaking becomes. The more you understand, the more understanding your words carry. The more present you are to others, the more present others become to your words. This is the natural law of reciprocity in communication. Let's dive deeper into something that most people completely misunderstand about commanding respect through speech. There's a common belief that to be respected, you need to have all the answers. Nothing could be further from the truth. The most respected communicators are those who have the courage to say, "I don't know," when they don't know. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you pretended to know something because you were afraid of losing face? How many times have you nodded along in meetings, afraid to ask the question everyone else was probably thinking? That fear of appearing ignorant actually diminishes your power to command respect. Authentic power doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from being real about what you know and what you don't. When you have the confidence to show your humanity, to be transparent about your limitations, something magical happens. People don't lose respect for you. They gain trust in you. I've seen this principle transform entire organizations. When leaders start speaking with authentic transparency instead of defensive certainty, the whole culture shifts. Communication opens up. Innovation flourishes. Trust deepens. And all because someone had the courage. But here's where it gets really interesting. The way you handle not knowing something is just as important as how you handle knowing something. When you say, "I don't know," with confidence, with curiosity, with a genuine desire to learn, that's powerful. That commands respect. Because you're demonstrating something far more valuable than knowledge. You're demonstrating wisdom. Consider every great discovery in human history began with someone having the courage to say, "I don't know. Let's find out." Every breakthrough started with questions, not answers. When you speak from this place of authentic curiosity, you invite others into a journey of discovery. That's engaging. That's inspiring. That commands respect. But there's another crucial element to speaking in a way that commands respect: emotional intelligence. This isn't about manipulating emotions or using psychological tricks. It's about having the awareness to understand the emotional impact of your words and the wisdom to speak in ways that elevate rather than diminish. Think about the last time someone's words really hurt you. Was it the words themselves, or was it the energy behind those words? Was it what they said, or was it how they made you feel? Understanding this distinction is crucial, because when you speak with emotional intelligence, you speak not just to people's minds, but to their hearts. People may forget what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. When you speak with emotional intelligence, you're not just transmitting information, you're creating an experience. You're not just making a point, you're making a difference. This brings us to another crucial understanding. The power of silence in communication. Most people are so afraid of silence that they fill every gap with words, diluting their message, diminishing their impact. But when you learn to embrace silence, to use it intentionally, your words gain weight. They command attention. They earn respect. Think of silence as a canvas upon which your words paint their meaning. Without that canvas, without those moments of pause and reflection, your words become a blur of sound signifying nothing. But when you master the art of strategic silence, when you learn to let your words land, to let their meaning sink in, to let truth resonate, That's when your communication becomes truly powerful. I've seen speakers transform their impact simply by learning to embrace silence, by having the confidence to pause, by trusting that their words are valuable enough to deserve reflection, by understanding that respect isn't earned by how much you say, but by how much truth you convey. This leads us to another vital truth about respect commanding speech: the power of questions. Not rhetorical questions designed to make you look smart, not leading questions designed to manipulate, but genuine questions that arise from authentic curiosity and a sincere desire to understand. When you ask powerful questions, questions that make people think, questions that challenge assumptions, questions that open new possibilities, you demonstrate something far more impressive than knowledge. You demonstrate wisdom. You show that you're more interested in finding truth than being right. That commands respect. But here's the key. Your questions must come from a place of genuine curiosity, not hidden agenda. People can tell the difference. When you ask questions from authentic interest, you create space for real dialogue. You invite others into a process of discovery. You demonstrate respect for their perspectives, their experiences, their wisdom. Think about the most respected people in your life. How do they use questions? Do they ask to prove their point, or do they ask to understand yours? Do they ask to show what they know, or do they ask to learn what you know? The difference is subtle but profound. This brings us to another crucial aspect of respect commanding speech: the power of acknowledgement. When you truly acknowledge others, their contributions, their challenges, their perspectives, you demonstrate a level of awareness that naturally commands respect. But this acknowledgement must be authentic, specific, and meaningful. Let me share something profound about the nature of respect demanding speech that took me years to understand. Every word you speak carries two messages: the literal meaning and the energetic intention. When these two align, your communication becomes unstoppable. When they don't, no amount of clever wordplay can bridge the gap. Think about the times you felt manipulated in a conversation. You couldn't quite put your finger on it, but something felt off. That disconnect you sensed wasn't in the words being spoken. It was in the misalignment between words and intention. People might not be able to articulate this misalignment, but they can feel it in their bones. This brings us to a fundamental truth about speaking with power. Alignment is everything. When your words, your beliefs, your intentions, and your actions all point in the same direction, you create a force field of authenticity that naturally commands respect. This isn't about perfection. It's about integration. I've seen this principle transform lives. People who thought they needed more techniques, more strategies, more skills, discovering that what they really needed was more alignment. When they aligned their speech with their truth, their impact multiplied exponentially. Their words began to carry weight not because of how they were saying them, but because of who they were being when they said them. Here's another crucial understanding. The power of your speech isn't in your voice. It's in your presence. When you're fully present, when you're completely engaged in the moment, when you're speaking from your authentic self rather than your conditioned responses, people don't just hear your words, they feel your truth. Think about this. Every time you speak, you're either strengthening or weakening your connection with others. You're either building bridges or creating barriers. You're either opening hearts or closing minds. The choice isn't in your words, it's in your presence. They try to be present while simultaneously judging their performance. They try to be authentic while monitoring their impact. They try to speak their truth while worrying about how it will be received. This internal division sabotages their power to command respect. The solution isn't to try harder. It's to trust deeper. Trust that when you're fully present, fully authentic, fully aligned, your natural power will emerge. Trust that when you're speaking from your truth, the right words will come. Trust that when you're serving rather than striving, your impact will take care of itself. The more you trust yourself, the more others trust you. The more you respect yourself, the more others respect you. The more you honor your truth, the more others honor your words. This isn't about cause and effect. It's about resonance and reflection. This understanding leads us to another vital truth about respect commanding speech: the power of vulnerability. Not weakness disguised as openness, but the genuine courage to be seen, to be real, to be human. When you speak from this place of authentic vulnerability, you create a space for others to do the same. I've watched countless leaders transform their impact by embracing this principle. They discovered that their power to influence didn't come from appearing invulnerable, it came from having the courage to be real. Their teams didn't respect them less for showing humanity. They respected them more for showing truth. But here's the key. Vulnerability without boundaries isn't powerful, it's dangerous. The kind of vulnerability that commands respect comes with clarity. It comes with purpose. It comes with the wisdom to know what to share, when to share it, and why you're sharing it. This isn't about emotional dumping. It's about conscious connecting. Think about the most powerful speakers you've ever encountered. What made them powerful wasn't their perfect delivery or their polished presence. It was their willingness to be real, to be vulnerable, to be human, while maintaining their center, their purpose. This brings us to another crucial aspect of respect commanding speech. The power of story. Not just any stories, but stories that carry truth, that transmit wisdom, that create connection. When you share a story from your lived experience, from your heart's understanding, you create a bridge of empathy that no amount of logical argument can match. But here's where most people miss the mark with storytelling. They focus on the events rather than the meaning. They focus on what happened rather than what was learned. They focus on the drama rather than the transformation. Kind of storytelling that commands respect isn't about entertainment. It's about enlightenment. Every experience you've had, every challenge you faced, every insight you've gained is a potential story that could help others. But the power isn't in the events themselves. It's in the wisdom you've extracted from them. It's in the truth you've discovered through them. It's in the transformation they've catalyzed in you. Let me share with you the most profound truth I've discovered about speaking in a way that commands respect. Your words can only carry the weight of your lived truth. You can't speak about peace if you haven't made peace with yourself. You can't speak about authenticity if you're hiding behind a mask. You can't speak about power if you've given yours away. This understanding changes everything. It shifts the focus from what you're saying to who you're being. It moves the emphasis from external techniques to internal transformation. Because here's the reality. The respect you command when you speak is directly proportional to the respect you have for your own truth. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you diminished your truth to make others comfortable? How many times have you softened your message to avoid rocking the boat? How many times have you traded your authentic voice for acceptable words? Each time you do this, you're not just compromising your message, you're compromising your power. Transformation begins when you make this fundamental shift. Stop trying to speak in a way that makes people respect you, and start speaking in a way that respects your truth. When you do this, something remarkable happens. Your words begin to carry the weight of authenticity. Your presence begins to command attention naturally. Your impact begins to multiply exponentially. They're waiting to feel ready. They're waiting to feel confident. They're waiting to feel worthy of speaking their truth. But here's the revelation that changed everything for me. You don't get ready to speak your truth. You get ready by speaking your truth. This brings us to another crucial understanding. The power of commitment in communication. When you speak with absolute commitment to your truth, when you stand fully in your conviction, when you align every cell of your being with your message, that's when your words become unstoppable. I've watched people transform from hesitant speakers to powerful communicators, not by learning new techniques, but by deepening their commitment to their truth. When they stopped trying to sound right and started being real, their impact multiplied. When they stopped trying to impress and started expressing, their influence expanded. Every word you speak is either strengthening or weakening your connection to your truth. Every conversation is either expanding or contracting your authentic power. Every interaction is either deepening or diminishing your impact. The choice isn't in your words. It's in your commitment. The most respected communicators aren't those who speak the most eloquently. They're those who speak the most truthfully. They're not the ones with the biggest vocabularies. They're the ones with the biggest commitments. They're not the ones who know the most. They're the ones who live their truth the most fully. This understanding leads us to the final and perhaps most important truth about speaking in a way that commands respect. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's not about arriving at some perfect state of communication. It's about continuously aligning your words with your evolving truth. Every time you speak, you have a choice. You can choose safety or truth. You can choose comfort or growth. You can choose acceptance or authenticity. The respect you command will be determined not by which choice you make, but by how fully you commit to that choice. The journey isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's not about adopting a new way of speaking. It's about allowing your authentic voice to emerge. It's not about adding something to yourself. It's about removing the barriers to your natural power. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to leave you with this final truth. The power to speak in a way that commands respect isn't something you need to acquire. It's something you need to allow. It's already within you, waiting to be expressed. Your authentic voice is already there, waiting to be heard. The question isn't whether you have this power. The question is whether you're ready to claim it, whether you're ready to stand in your truth, to speak from your heart, to align your words with your deepest values, whether you're ready to stop hiding and start shining. Every word you speak is a declaration of who you are. Every conversation is an opportunity to align more deeply with your truth. Every interaction is a chance to expand your impact. The power isn't in the words you choose, it's in the truth you live. Stop waiting to be ready. Stop waiting to be perfect. Stop waiting to be worthy. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. Your presence matters. The world needs your authentic voice, not your perfect words. It needs your lived truth, not your polished performance. Start today. Start now. Start wherever you are. Speak your truth with kindness. Share your wisdom with humility. Express your power with grace. But most importantly, speak from your heart, from your truth, from your authentic self, because when you do, respect doesn't need to be commanded. It's naturally earned. You're not just learning to speak. You're learning to be more fully yourself. You're not just developing your voice. You're expressing your truth. You're not just commanding respect. You're earning it through your commitment to authenticity. The journey begins now with your next word, your next conversation, your next opportunity to align your speech with your truth. Trust yourself. Trust your voice. Trust your truth. The respect you seek isn't out there somewhere. It's within you, waiting to be expressed through your authentic voice.